Jamie, and welcome back to my channel, Jamie Sage Knits, where I talk about all things knitting, yarn, fiber arts, and today I have my 10th podcast to share with you. Pretty exciting. I'll be talking through a few recently finished objects as well as some works in progress, and I unfortunately haven't had a chance to film I think in like a month or so because I've been traveling a fair amount this summer, so I just haven't had the opportunity to sit down and record and edit a video, but I have had a decent amount of time to knit during those travels, so I have some exciting updates to share. Probably not quite as much knitting time as I would usually have or as I would prefer, but still some fun knitting that I've been able to get done, and I will share it all with you today. I would love if you would subscribe and let me know down below what is your current work in progress, or if you are not a monogamous knitter like me, have multiple works in progress, what is the one you're feeling most excited about? Before we dive in, I just want to talk a little bit about my shirt that I'm wearing right now. This is my adapted version of the Venilia Tee by Sari Nordland. As you can see, I did not add the sleeves. It is just left as a tank top. I really like it. I've talked about it in previous podcasts and how I also added some waist shaping and just overall kind of changed the fit and the style, but kept this beautiful complex cable motif. And I really love this. You might be able to see the arms are gapping a little bit. That's on me. I accidentally measured kind of the wrong way, the front panel, and there is a few inches of extra fabric. So I'm going to try to add some elastic and see if that helps, but for now I'm really enjoying it. It is knit with 2 strands of pure silk from Knitting for Olive in the color Cream, which makes a really beautiful fabric. Like, it almost just feels like wearing nothing. So it's a great summer garment, and I like that I can wear it to work. It's like kind of a work appropriate, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I wanted to wear it today. So with that, let's dive into a few finished objects. I think I called my last podcast like in my pink era, something like that. So we are wrapping up the pink era in terms of active knitting, but of course now these things are all in my wardrobe ready to wear. So I have 3 finished objects, all pink. If you're not a pink person, of course you can make some of these patterns with a different yarn. But I just happen to use pink yarn for all of these. So the first one is the Auguste Camisole by Johanna Gehrisch, which is this really cute like striped cable motif. So it has alternate cables and stockinette stripes. So this one I knit a size medium on 3.75 millimeter needles with Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color Strawberry Ice Cream, which is this really cute kind of peachy color. And I was worried it would be like too open of a gauge, but I don't find it see-through when I wear it, and it's a really breathable open fabric, so I actually really like that gauge. And you know, usually I feel like we would knit Knitting for Olive on like 3.25 millimeter needles, but I thought 3.75 would be way too big, but I actually really like it. So that was a big success. However, I've talked in previous podcasts about how there were a lot of mistakes in this pattern. It made it a pretty stressful knitting experience. And I think when I last talked about it, I had already joined in the round, and I was just knitting down the body, which at that point was like pretty smooth sailing. It was a pretty fun motif. The instructions for the straps, again, were pretty confusing, but I kind of just winged it because I was like, whatever. I can tell like what needs to get done. And then the straps instruct to bind off and then sew them in. And I, whenever possible, avoid doing that because it's like extra steps. So I just left the live stitches on the needle and then did like a modified Kitchener seam, which I think turned out pretty nicely. Kitchener seam, which yeah, I think looks good. So, I mean, I like the idea of it. I like the motif, but I don't think it fits very well. I think it's designed in a way to make it the most simple to knit, even though there are actually mistakes, but like it's very symmetrical in terms of like the triangles and stuff, when like how it's supposed to sit on our body is not necessarily symmetrical. So I feel like the triangles are like too centered, and then the straps are like too centered, and it just like doesn't look very good, and it like pulls in a weird way. Maybe that's just my body, but like I have never noticed that with other kind of similar patterns that I've made. So I do think it's probably like a general issue with the construction. So I mean, I do wear it. I put a lot of work into it. I'm not going to like not wear it, and I actually have gotten a couple of compliments on it, but this definitely isn't a top I would feel comfortable wearing like with my hair up. I like having my hair down over it to kind of cover the weirdness of the straps and the fit up here. Maybe I could try wearing it with a strapless bra and see if that would help. Like maybe the bra straps are what's like throwing me off. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time I talk about this, I'm like, I think Johanna Gehrisch's patterns look so beautiful and I want to love them, but like this is the first one I've tried to knit and it was a very bad experience. So I'm thinking of trying one more of her newer patterns. This one is from like 2022. So to be fair, maybe she's had the opportunity to like improve a lot of her pattern writing since then. She's obviously a very talented like designer and knitter because her stuff is so beautiful, but just the way that translated to the pattern, I was not a fan of. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is a really cute like summer item. I'm just not absolutely thrilled with the fit of it, and I don't think there were any like simple modifications that I could have done to address that. So yeah, I am not as happy with this as I usually am with finished projects, but at the same time, I'm glad I figured out this gauge with Knitting for Olive is really nice because maybe I'll incorporate that knowledge in the future. Like I said, I do think that the general like motif and idea of this is really cute. So yeah, I will mention as well in case after that rave review you're interested in knitting it. The bust ranges from 30 to 47 inches with 0 to 2 inches of positive ease recommended. So not even that wide of a range, but I cannot say I would recommend this based on my experience, unfortunately. And I'll try to think about if there's any patterns I know of that are kind of similar, and if so, I will include them in the description below. Next up, we have a wonderful pattern that I knew I would love because I've knit it before. So this is the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. This is my second one. I have already worn it. There's a little bit of deodorant stains. And so I knit this in Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Pink Daisies, which is this gorgeous, like hot pink color. And yeah, I love this. I knew I'd love it. I knit a second one because my first one is probably my most worn summer garment. It's not necessarily like my most favorite to look at. Like, for example, I think this cable motif is so beautiful, but it's just not as like wearable or not something I would just throw on. Whereas when I'm just looking for like a knitted tank to throw on, my Mixed Rib Cami is like the one I reach for because it has a little bit of visual interest, but it's not like such a statement piece. And because I think it's like really flattering and comfortable. So I was really excited to knit a second one. I would say it's not the most fun to knit because you can't completely zone out like for a stockinette project, but then it's also not super interesting and engaging like cables or lace. But like I said, I love the fit. I love like the finished product, and I do think it was like totally worth it to make a second one. I did keep in mind like my first one, I was mostly a monogamous knitter. That was like about a year ago. And then since starting my channel, I have gotten a lot more into knitting multiple garments at the same time, which I really enjoy. And so that made this a lot more enjoyable, that I could just pick it up, knit a little bit on it, but then do something else if I was getting a bit bored. So I am very happy with it. And I am thinking of making a third one, but we don't need to talk about that right now. This also has a great size range from around 29.5 to 61 inches with 4 to 6 inches of negative ease recommended. And I don't know. I just don't have enough good things to say about this. The pattern is super clear, very flattering, great like everyday tank. And I actually haven't blocked it yet because I just finished it, I think last week, and then I brought it on my most recent trip and I did wear it. And I mean, it's fine, but I think blocking it will help the ribbing relax out a bit more like when I'm not wearing it. Like, look at that. It looks so cute. And for my first one, I think I only added like 2 or 3 waist decreases for the waist shaping, but this one I did all of the decreases. So let's see if I can show this in a nice way. Yeah, there we go. I think it looks really nice. So this one is even more scrunched at the waist, and I really like it because it's a great fit. And I used 2 balls of Knitting for Olive, and I just kind of knit down until I was almost out, and then I added a little I-cord at the bottom, which I don't think is included in the pattern instructions. I think it just says to bind off, but I love I-cord edging. If you watch my podcast before, you might know that about me. I just find them like really tailored and elegant. So the pattern did instruct to put I-cord edging on the neckline and the arm holes, and I just added one on the bottom as well because it only takes a little longer, and I think it looks really nice. So absolutely love this. Big success. Nice to have this after the I'm forgetting because my brain doesn't want to remember or think about it. The Auguste Camisole. After that, this successful camisole was very nice. I'm very happy with it, and I'm most likely going to wear this a lot. But I do think it'll be nicer after I block it, just because the stitches aren't always the most even with the ribbing. So I probably will get that on the blocking mats today after I finish filming this. Alrighty, and then my third and final finished item is also pink. This is the mini mock neck by Jessie Made Designs. I think in my summer knitting plans I had this one as like a potential option, and I was just really craving like a plain stockinette project, so I decided to go with this one. And I have knit it in Monostyle Uruguay Fino in the color Dog Rose. And I feel like when I ordered it online and it did not look this variegated, but I actually love it. Like, look at that, like, yarn coloring. It's so beautiful. I've gotten a couple compliments on it just while knitting it up because I haven't had a chance to wear it yet. It's so pretty. I'm like obsessed with that. It looks kind of like a sunset, but it's just like all pink. It's so pretty. This design also has a great size range from 28 to 60 inches with 4.5 to 6.5 inches of negative ease recommended. So it's like, it is a fitted kind of tight tank. It's very small. I didn't really talk about this, I guess. Like I mentioned for my mixed Rib Cami, I just got 2 balls of yarn, just knit until I ran out. It is really a tendency of mine to get like, for summer tops especially, to kind of like round down on the yarn and then make adjustments or just make it cropped to fit the amount of yarn. So like for this, I had one skein, 100 grams of this Fino yarn, and to be honest, I don't remember if that matched exactly with what the pattern called for. It probably was a little bit on the shorter side, and then I probably made adjustments like making the neckband a little bit shorter, which I wanted to do anyway because it's a summer top, and then making it a little more cropped than recommended. Also, I'll do things like rounding down on size if it's not too crazy, or things like that, so that I can get the beautiful experience of the yarn without having to buy another skein, especially in this case if it's like 100-gram skeins. I'm not going to get an extra 100-gram skein in order to use like 10 grams of it. I just don't feel like that makes sense, but that is part of why this is a very tiny shirt and I have like that much yarn left over. So if you are someone like me who likes to do that and kind of play yarn chicken, I would definitely recommend a mini scale. And that really helps because then you can calculate how much yarn it takes to make like 1 round or like 2 rounds or whatever, and then use that to work backwards and figure out, okay, if I want to have 10 rounds of ribbing, then I need to save this much yarn. Or if my bind off is going to take, I usually like to have like 3 rows worth of yarn just to be safe, then this is when I need to start doing my bind off or things like that. So it does add a little more math, but it makes yarn chicken more scientific. So anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent that's not specific to this project, but is relevant to this project. And in any case, I knit on actually a 2.5 millimeter needle instead of a 3.5 millimeter as recommended. So this might have turned out even a little bit smaller. And that is because my wood interchangeable needle tips that start at 3.5 millimeters have actually been worn down because I've used them so much and on a lot of like tight ribbing. So I need to probably get new ones. And then my metal needles that go up to 3.5 millimeter, the small cord 24-inch that I would use for this, tend to snap at the joins because those are the ones from KnitPicks and they're just not the best cords for that like mini, it's like a lace tips metal set. So I've been using my ChowGoo fixed circulars for summer projects, which I really, really like, and I'll show you in a couple of my future projects that I'll talk about. But I don't have a 3.5 millimeter fixed circular because I don't knit that many summer projects on 3.5 millimeters. I tend to do more on like 3.25. So I did the 3.25 for this. Honestly, I think it was fine. But I do think I should have sized down an extra size for the ribbing. It just doesn't look the most neat. I did a 2.75 as the pattern recommends, but maybe I should have done like a 2.5. I don't know. But it's not a huge deal. I also this made me realize I want to learn how to do that thing where you like, I think use a short row to flip the ribbing in a sense, because look how neat the inside of this ribbing is. Like that looks amazing. If that were the outside, I would be thrilled. Like look, that's the inside and then that's the outside. Inside is way neater. So I know you can also do twisted pearls in order to make the ribbing neater, but that seems like a lot more work. I knit English style, and I'm not the hugest fan of like twisted purl stitches. I don't know if it's easier if you knit continental, but yeah, maybe the next time I have ribbing, I'll try out that like short row strategy, and I'll look up how you do that. But yeah, that could be nice. So I'm very excited to wear this. I'm not planning to block it, I don't think, because with superwash yarn, sometimes I'm a little nervous about how much it will bloom, and I did not knit a swatch. You're learning a lot about my chaos as a knitter. I hardly ever knit a swatch unless I'm test knitting, so I just wing it. And I don't know how much this yarn would bloom with blocking, and I don't want to risk it because I like how it fits now, and I don't think it really needs to be blocked. I think it looks pretty neat, and especially when I'm wearing it and it stretches out a bit, I think it looks so beautiful. So I'm very, very happy with this one as well. I don't know if I mentioned in terms of like the pattern writing, I thought it was very clear, very easy to follow, enjoyable process, and I really love it. I'm very happy with it. So it's fun to have a little like tiny cropped tank for summer, and I will hopefully wear it soon. Oh, I did mention I made the neck ribbing shorter than recommended. I mean, it's called the mini mock neck, so it does traditionally have like more of a mock neck, and I like the stylistic like aesthetic of that, but I just felt like it didn't make sense if I'm wearing like a tiny little cropped thing. I probably want it to be like as cool and like not warm as possible for wearing on summer days, and it just wouldn't make sense to add more to the neck. It would probably get sweaty. So for this summery one, I decided to make a shorter neckband. But yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm excited to wear it very soon. And with that, we get into my works in progress. First off, I just want to share a really small update. This is the last item in my pink era category. This is the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts. Literally the only update is I just added in the collar, and I really like how it looks. It looks super neat, and I will say, I don't think the pattern specified a pickup rate for the color stitches. It just said how many to do. That always annoys me because, I mean, you can just do the work of calculating it yourself, but then you have to like count how many stitches are around and then divide and all this stuff. Decide if you want to like make it different for like the front and back versus the sides. So, and that's strange because I feel like Veronica Lindberg's patterns are usually like quite like detailed and would include a thing like an aspect like that. So maybe this is one of her older patterns, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it worked out totally fine. I think it looks really nice. If I do say so myself, I'm very proud of how it worked out. And it does instruct to bind off and then sew down the collar. But like I said, for like the straps on the Auguste Camisole, I'll be compressing things into a single step when possible. So I just did the like sewn bind off where you like kind of pick up a stitch from the inside, bind it off, and so it's like one step, and then you have it just like sewn down automatically with the bind off. And I actually really enjoy doing that. Like I find it really fun. So I was very happy with that. Now that it's getting a little cooler, I am feeling a bit more motivated to pick up the sleeves and work on that and finish this up to wear in the fall. But I also am wanting to finish as many summer knits as possible before getting back to sweaters. So I'm a little conflicted. We will see. But yeah, definitely next step will be to finish up the sleeves on this guy and then block it. This is one where I feel like it's going to really nicely relax with blocking. So yeah, excited about that. I do love the color. I really love how it looks. It made me definitely more excited about this pattern. So maybe on our next podcast, I will have sleeve updates on that guy. Next up, I want to share, this one's honestly probably even closer to being done. This is the Filigree Cami by Marzena Kolaczek. Forget where I was when I last talked about this. Maybe I was working on the front panel. Now it looks absolutely crazy because it's like mostly put together, but it needs to be seamed. So I do think this one is really cool. It is this lace panel back, and then it's worked bottom up, these two panels, and then you work the front panel, and then add these straps to connect to the back. And then the last step here, I already added the side panels, which are seamed onto the front. And then, this is difficult to handle. The last step now, where am I? Here we go. Will be seaming the side panels onto the lace. It's a little hard to show like this. Maybe I should have done that before the video. But yeah, so then it'll be like this. These will be the armholes. This is the side panel. And yeah, sorry I can't show it very well. It's just like hard to hold. Everything is like connected but not quite enough. But I will seam in those side panels, and then I bought these half dome pearl buttons that I will sew in. And yeah, so I feel like this is 95% done. I just need to seam the back panels to the side, sew on the buttons, and then I probably should do another block. I don't know if I should have done it differently, but like the back panels are already blocked and then the front panel is not. And it didn't say to block the front panel before attaching, but maybe it should have. Like, I feel like that would have been pretty helpful. So I might try to block, I mean, I think it would work fine. I might try to block only the front and side panels, so because I feel like that might be helpful in order to sew them together. So that has been a really interesting pattern to work on. I haven't done that kind of construction before, and it is definitely like exciting to work on something new. And I will report back in my next video, hopefully with that as a finished object. Just to share a little bit of context on the pattern itself, the sizing ranges from 31.5 to 60-inch bust with neutral ease recommended, and it's knit up, I believe, on maybe like 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles. I think it's recommended to do knitting for all of pure silk, which is what I did. I used actually leftover from this shirt in the color cream, so they are the same. Yeah, I really like that. I'm a little concerned about the fit because it's like not bra friendly, so we'll have to see how that turns out, but I think it'll be really nice for like if there are any very hot days remaining in the summer, it would be very breathable. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that up and getting to wear it, and I do think the lace is like very gorgeous. So speaking of lace, my next project, I feel like now I'm in my lace era, move over pink era. It's time for lace. This is the Rimurimu Tee by Yamagara. This really needs to be blocked. But this is a beautiful lace pattern tee with a keyhole detail at the back of the neck. And it calls for a light fingering weight yarn on 3 to 3.5 millimeter needles. And the finished bust ranges from 33 to 66 inches. And I forget what kind of ease it recommends, but I will type that in. I'm using Murky Depth Yakima fingering in the color Lucia, which is this beautiful like luminous eggplant purple. Knit up, it has a bit more like variation than I expected, but I do think it's probably hand dyed, so that makes sense. But there are just some parts that like the dye hasn't really taken as much. But I think let's say it adds dimensionality. With lace or like with cables, I typically would try to have a pretty like flat yarn to just really let the texture shine. But you know what? I think this is beautiful. I think it's a special project, and I'm happy with how it's going so far. I will say, discussing my tendency to buy yarn and then kind of like make it work with a project, this is definitely an example of that. I have a fair amount less yardage than recommended, so I rounded down in my size selection, and I'm planning to have it a lot more cropped than the pattern photo, which is like more my style anyway. And I'm also considering excluding the sleeve edging. There's like ribbed edging in the pattern, and I might do a mid-project block and see how that factors in, but I think it could be okay, like similar to this, where I just like don't add the sleeves, or if I think it looks a little too uneven, I also could add like an I-cord, which would take less yarn than the ribbing. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I'll block it, I'll try it on. It looks so small right now because it really needs to like block and relax out. And I also think that will help the lace motif shine a lot more, because currently it's just like very scrunched, but then when you stretch it out, you can see the beautiful motif. So yeah, I have been really enjoying knitting this up. I think it's really fun. It is quite similar to the Filigree Cami, but I feel like with those lace panels in the back, I just didn't get enough of the lace that I wanted, so this has been really fun. You can see I have joined in the round. I have finished one lace repeat for the body, and I'm thinking of cutting the yarn here and adding in the neck edging and then blocking it, and then seeing if I want to add any sleeve edging, and then just using whatever yarn I have left to finish up the body. So yeah, I think this is so beautiful, and I think it'll be really nice for fall because of the color. It's like a bit autumnal, and oh, I don't even know if I said, but the Yakima fingering, as the name suggests, has some yak content, which gives this like beautiful slight halo, and there's also silk content, which makes it really luminous. So I do think with the lace it'll be breathable for warmer days, but with the content, maybe that makes it a little cozier for fall. So I just think this is going to turn out really gorgeous, I hope. And I will, of course, keep you updated. Next up, we have a very much summer project. This is the Square Neck Cami by Helene Beba. And I think this is such a classic pattern and will be a staple summer tank. I'm using Knitting for Olive. Uh-oh, it's inside out. Here we go. I'm using Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Dusty Teal, which I think is really pretty. And this top has sizing of 31.5 to 47 inches with 3 to 7 inches of negative ease recommended. So somewhat limited range, but I decided to go ahead with it just because I think it's a really beautiful pattern, but I will see if I can find something similar and include it below. I rounded down when choosing my size because it's recommended to have 3 balls of Knitting for Olive. I only have 2. Classic Jamie. I will just knit until I run out and have it be cropped, and that's fine. I just joined in the round pretty recently, so I'm probably gonna knit down until I finish this first ball, and then when I start my second ball, I will add the neckline and strap edging, and then join back to the body and finish it up. So yeah, this has been really fun so far. It's working up pretty quickly, and I'm excited to hopefully finish it. This is one of my Chaogu fixed circulars, and even though they're quite thin needles, the cords are very sturdy and bendy, which is really nice. But yeah, I will finish this up and excited to hopefully get somewhere out of it before it gets too chilly. And one other thing is I just really love the underarm shaping. There's something very satisfying about it to me. So yeah, not too much to say about this one. I haven't really made any modifications or anything like that. The only thing I'll say is it feels so good to gain confidence as a knitter and realize what matters and what doesn't, because for the straps, for example, it said specifically knit 106 rows or something like that, and then it was or until it's approximately this length, and I was as if I'm gonna count 106 rows of these few stitches back and forth. I just knit and then measured it, and then I did wind up counting because I was curious, and it wasn't 106 rows. It was 100, but whatever. That saved me a lot of effort and annoyance. And knitting is supposed to be fun, and it did not sound fun to me to count 106 or whatever rows of these tiny back and forth. So I just measured it when I was ready. And then same for the front and back. It was knit to however many rows, and I was I don't know. I just don't feel like using a row counter, so I just knitted until it seemed reasonable, and then I counted and it was approximately right, and I was okay. So I think that's part of it. When I'm paying for a pattern, yes, I do want them to give me the information, but it's I'm paying for this, I'm knitting this, I'm gonna do what I want. And I think that has given me so much freedom, right, to make these adjustments and use a different amount or slightly different type of yarn than recommended or something like that. So I do think giving yourself that permission to adjust things a little bit and just kind of make it your own, do what is fun for you and what works for you, that is so freeing and makes knitting a lot more enjoyable. And maybe you guys already are all on board with this and I'm just behind the times, but that has been a really rewarding thing in the past few months, and especially as I gain more confidence in my knitting. All right, we have a couple more things to talk about. The next one is also Knitting for Olive yarn. So much Knitting for Olive. Look at this color, so pretty. This was an impulse cast on. I was going on a trip recently and I wanted to bring a couple options that would be easy to carry and small, so one of them was this, which I got a bit more done on. But then the second one, I was thinking of starting my Ilana camisole, and I have the yarn wound up for that, but I just decided that I wanted to use my Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color Blueberry Ice Cream because it's so pretty, but I didn't have a project selected for it in my queue. And I was just you know what? I'm gonna figure this out. So I, maybe on Sorry Nordland's Instagram or on Ravelry or something, I saw that she had a relatively new pattern, which is called the Venilia Light top. And I just fell in love with it. It caught my eye. And I decided to just allow myself to have a fun impulse cast on. I really love Sorry Nordland's lace patterns, and obviously I've been in a lace phase recently. So this has been really fun and it's coming along nicely. And this pattern has two versions, one of which is a lace kind of yoke, even though it's like a tank top, like lace to the bust and then stockinette. And that is, I would say, more similar to a lot of her previous tank tops. And I have a couture top or a couture tank in that style. But there's also an option to just do entirely lace. And I decided to do that because it's more fun, more lace. And also I just thought it would be a little more different than other patterns that I've worked on. So I'm working on the front panel right now. It is working up really beautifully. That's the front, right? Yeah. So pretty. It's a really fun and enjoyable repeat, and I'm just really liking it. Also, knitting for Olive Cotton Merino does have kind of like a silky, smooth feel, but this one is maybe even like softer and smoother than others. So like it's been super fun to work on, and it feels just like it's gonna be an absolute dream to wear. And I'm so excited. I think it's so pretty. The color, the motif, and it has been really fun. But I just like blasted through this and I was like, you know what? I feel very motivated on this. It might be better to like restrain myself a bit and split my attention between different projects. So we will see how things unfold. And I did order, actually another issue is I only have one 3mm Chowgu fixed circular, and I decided to order another because I do a lot of 3mm projects. So I have this currently on my 3mm needles, and then I have another set arriving in the next day or two, and I will put this back on the needles and pick up work on that. But yeah, I am really happy with that impulse cast on. And then my last work in progress, oh my goodness, how many works in progress do I have? I guess why can I never remember? The Filigree Cami is like almost done. So I don't even know if that counts, but I have my Salty Days sweater. That's not that bad. I have the Rimurimu Tee and then 2 tanks. So that's okay. But this one comes into the mix, and this is going to be a self-drafted tank top knit up with linen yarn. I don't have very much currently. This is just like the back yoke. And I'm not feeling super motivated just because I'm not like that confident in how this is going to look, but I do want it to be like quite wide, so I don't know, actually I feel like maybe it is okay. I want it to go like out to the tips of the shoulders and then fall down. I want it to be like a thick tank top. I want it to have a neckband similar to this one, but it will be striped, and I'll be using these two. So I think it's a nice contrast. This one that I started with is from the brand Ritual Dyes, and this is the yarn Undine DK, which is 60% organic cotton, 40% linen, and it has 273 yards to 100 grams. And this is in the color Quartzite. So I think this is a really pretty, I think it is kind of like a cool toned beige or like light taupe, which I don't know if it's the most flattering for me, but you know, we're mixing it up. And then I also have a black similar yarn. This is from Juniper Moon Farms in the yarn line Zoe. And this is also 60% cotton, 40% linen. And this one has 284 yards per 100 grams. So quite similar. I would say they're both DK, and their fiber content is exactly the same. And their, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the way that they're spun is a little different. Like this one I would say is more of like a typical how you would see it spun, and this one is a little bit more like loose or almost like a, I don't know if it's a chainette, but like going in that direction. But honestly, I think it'll be fine. I think they'll work up okay together, and I'm planning, oop, that one went flying. I'm planning to do like blocky stripes, so we'll see. I just haven't felt that motivated to work on this because I have so many other fun projects, and also in the summer, like I love fingering weight projects, which might be controversial, but I just really enjoy them. So this DK weight project I haven't been feeling as enthused about, but I do think it'll be really cute, and I do enjoy the satisfaction of like designing something and drafting something myself. So hopefully I will feel inspired to pick that up again soon. And then I have one acquisition to share with you. So this yarn I purchased with a gift card that my friends kindly gave me for my birthday, and this is from the brand Bare Naked Wools. It's basically a website where all of their yarn is undyed. So that's why it's called Bare Naked Wools. So I'm pretty sure it's like all or almost all natural fibers, and it's just like the color of the sheep. which I think is really cool and really special. So I decided to buy like yarn specifically to use for a project. And so I was looking at what patterns of theirs I liked, and I decided that because I've been enjoying fingering weight knitting so much, that it would be fun to do a very lightweight project. And especially as I have become like very prolific at knitting, it's also more cost effective to do like smaller gauge projects because it takes longer and I get more time of knitting out of the yarn. And then also because it takes longer, I don't have as many knits like piling up in my closet. It's kind of crazy that these are the things I'm thinking about at this point in knitting, because when I started, I probably wanted to like finish as many garments as possible, but now I'm like, I have a lot of beautiful garments, and now I just really want to invest in like very like detailed and special pieces and also preserve my closet space. So I decided to get the Kent lace yarn. So this is actually lace weight, but it's a very like lofty yarn, I would say. Like it's very plump. Doesn't look like a lace weight, does it? Like, let's compare it to the Knitting for Olive, which is quite tightly spun. You can see it's like, unless you like pull it taut. Oh no, there we go. So when you pull it taut, you can see it is thinner, but then when it's not pulled taut, it looks thicker because it's so plump. So we'll see how that works out when working it up. And this is in the color Beach Glass. So I think it's really beautiful. And it gets a little blown out when I hold it close. But when I hold it up to me, you can see it's like, I think it will look fine with my skin tone. I thought based on online it would be a little warmer tone, so that's a little frustrating, but I think it'll be fine. And it is going to be a cardigan. I don't think it'll be too itchy. It feels pretty soft. And this is 60% merino, 40% Romney wool, which is really cool. I was thinking of getting something that is like from a fiber I've never used before, like Romney or like Targhee or something like that, but they didn't have that many fingering or lace weight options, and I really liked this option in this color, and I think it's fine that there's 60% merino, 40% Romney. It's at least a little bit of new fiber to try. And I don't think I said this has 750 yards in 115 grams, and I got 2 skeins, so that's 1,500 yards. And that is enough to make, I think it's called the Dandelion Honey cardigan. So I'm going to start that this fall. That'll definitely be in my fall knitting plans. I don't know if I will start it imminently, but I am really looking forward to it. It's also a lace project, and yeah, I'm just not getting tired of lace at all, and I'm really excited. And I'm just like holding this to my neck. It doesn't feel itchy at all in the skein. It doesn't feel like super soft or smooth, but it doesn't feel itchy at all. So we'll see how it knits up, and I just wanted to share that acquisition with you because I'm very excited about it, and I think this is like a really special yarn. I like the whole premise that it's all bare naked wools, no dyeing. It's like, this is the natural color of the sheep. So I think that's really cool, and I will of course keep you updated as I start that project. So that is finally all for today. That was a pretty extensive podcast, so I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below, what are you working on at the moment? And have you recently finished any objects for summer or otherwise? So thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.